Hi everyone, my name's David, welcome to my YouTube channel. Today we're going to start a new series, El Decano, where we take control of Recreativo de Huelva, the oldest club currently playing football in Spain. They're down in the third tier, so our job is to get them promoted up into the second tier and then eventually into La Liga. Hopefully we'll be able to get some success along the way. So guys, let's take a look at the team that we're going to be managing during this series. So we're going down to the third tier of Spanish football, which is confusingly called the second division before. So we're looking at Recreativo de Huelva, who founded in 1889. They're the oldest team currently playing in Spanish football. For that reason, they are known as El Decano. And they're a team with a lot of history. Not a team with a lot of success. As you can see that they've won the Spanish division, the Spanish second division once back in 2006. The division that we're currently in was actually won last year. However, because of the playoff system, doesn't automatically lead to promotion, and it didn't in last year's example either. And also they've won some of the third divisions, which is the tier below. So a lot of history, but not a lot of success, which is something that we're going to hopefully turn around. The important thing to know, if we have a look at the finances here, is that we are in an insecure financial position, and this is something which is going to become pretty important in the save. So looking at the bank balance, £454,878 in the bank, but the important thing to look at here is the debt that the club currently has. So £22.5 million is the original debt, and the debt that's remaining. As you can see, none of that's from transfer. This is all just debt that's on the club, which is there until 2030. So that's something which we're going to have to do something about. If we look at the projected finances, it's just a terrible picture, especially for this level of football, where, as you can see, the turnover is not exactly going to be all that high. We're projecting just under £2 million this year, but we'll be spending £5.5 million, which is just not sustainable. We're going to be losing, over £3 million every year. Some of that is wage costs, so that's something which we're going to be looking to bring down, but a lot of it is just the cost of being a professional football club in Spain, which is something we're going to have to do something about, hopefully by getting promotion, but if not, then we'll be in trouble in terms of the ability to bring in players and retain players. If we look at the current squad, we've got some decent players for this level of football. Some interesting players also. We've got a Japanese goalkeeper who I think is probably going to be the number 2 this season, to Nafe, who's a lot more experienced, but he's maybe past his best. So we'll see how that develops. We've got quite a lot of players who can play in central defence. I think the team is kind of set up for more of a 3-4-3 formation, which is not something I usually play, but it is something that I might consider. So in terms of the best players at the club, a couple of players on loan. Yamil Medina, who's a Venezuelan, on loan from Albacete. He looks a pretty good player actually, and somebody that I might use either on the wing or in this kind of attacking midfield role. Dani Molina, who is also on loan from Estremadura, who also looks a pretty good, capable, technical player. Gonzalez, who's another midfielder, again looks pretty handy. Simonovsky, who used to play for Huelva, as you can see, back in the past, but he's come from, he's played for Brøndby and Leganes, who are in the top tier, so he looks a pretty good player. A left-footed player who prefers to play on the right, which is exactly what I like to do with my wingers. Local legend Julie, who is a right winger, again left-footed, but can also play up front, which is where I've tended to use him when I've played as Huelva in the past. Centre halves, left back, so Murcio is getting on a bit, but can still do a job. Barroso for some reason is on the transfer list, so I'm not sure why that would be. We'll review that, but he looks a good right winger. And Quiles, who's our kind of main target man, centre forward, although he can play a little bit better than that. So these are the players that we've got to deal with. We have got a B team where there are some decent players. For example, Palacios looks like he might be a good option to bring in. He needs to work on his mental ability. And a decent fullback as well, Pepe, who may well get used at some point during the season. One of the things that we do need to look at, we've got an assistant manager, head of youth development, goalkeeper coach, fitness coach. There's room for an extra coach, which is somebody that I think we will bring in. We don't have any scouts at all, so that's something that we will look to change. Although we don't have any money, so maybe we don't need scouts for transfers, but just for assessing the opposition and things like that. So in the next video we'll hopefully be towards the end of pre-season. We've got a long old pre-season to get through. As you can see, it's August now, and we don't start the regular season until the 18th of October when we're playing Marino. So we've got enough time to kind of put together hopefully a winning team, get some cohesion going. The tactics that I'm looking at, so this is a 3-defender formation, but I'm not sure whether we've got the wing backs, whether they might need to be pushed forward into the midfield strata, and then these inside forwards might need to become central strikers. We've got a 4-3-3 with a deep line playmaker at the base of midfield. This is a formation I usually like playing with, especially on last year's version of Football Manager. One of the things I have been playing with this year on my beta save, which was with Everton, this is 4-2-3-1, making use of a more traditional enganche in the number 10 role, who's going to be kind of the main playmaker, like a Riquelme style player, pinging balls through the opposition defence. So that's something else that we might look to see if it will work with the players that we've got at Huelva. Just a final point. So in terms of the league, we are predicted to finish first, which I think is fair given the opposition that we'll be facing in the league. One thing to bear in mind is the kind of crazy structure, which, as I said, does involve several playoffs. This year, because the Spanish league structure is changing, we're going to be in a series of playoff groups. If we get to the top 3, we'll be in the promotion group. If we get into the middle, we'll be in a kind of playoff group to stay where we are in the 3rd tier, I think, and then there's a relegation group below. This is because they're kind of changing the 3rd and 4th tiers around a little bit, but I'll bring more information on that when I actually understand it myself. Okay, so thank you for watching. Any comments, likes, subscriptions are appreciated, and I'll see you next time when we'll be going further with Recreativo de Huelva.